Hello everyone, you're watching Global Leaders Network. Win TV, I'm your host, Yesoe. There are many leaders globally in areas such as government, non-for-profit organization, business, education, hospital, art industry, etc. Global Leaders Network invite these types of leaders and share their wonderful story. Today, I invite State Senator Jim Oberweis. How are you today?
Absolutely terrific. Things have been going very well, and thank you for inviting me. I'm pleased to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. Would you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. I'm a person who has lived in the Aurora area of my entire life. I went to the University of Illinois after graduating from Army and Military Academy. Ended up in the securities business as a stockbroker after first teaching school, math and science, for 1 year in Aurora. And after being a stockbroker for a while, I ended up starting my own stock brokerage firm and money management firm and family of mutual funds, which have done very well. I built that to about $1 billion under management, turned it over to my son Jim to run. At the same time, when I was young, I had grown up in the milk and ice cream business run by my father, called Oberweis Dairy, and had an older brother, John, who went into that business, so that's why I decided to be a stockbroker instead. But about 25 or 30 years ago, he had a stroke and was unable to continue in the business. So I bought the business at that time. It was very small. It had about 50 employees and one ice cream store. Since I bought it, we've built it into now 43 ice cream stores and restaurants, and over 1,200 employees. So we've seen a lot of growth. And I'm fortunate that my other son, Joe, now runs that business. So I have been free for the last 8 or 10 years to devote my attention to trying to help our state initially, and hopefully our country going forward. I thought naively that because of my background in finances and economics, that I might be able to help our state turn around its severe pension unfunded liabilities. What I found when I got to Springfield was they don't really want people who understand and know the answers. They want people who do what they're told to do. I don't fit into that environment.
Were you always dreaming about becoming a politician when you're young?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I would say it. At one age, I remember in high school, and they asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? I put down, be president of the United States. Well, I got rid of that thought fairly quickly, and once I started my own business, I totally forgot about politics and paid no attention to that, and really just focused on building our business, because that's a 12-hour-a-day, a 7-day-a-week effort if you want to build a company from very small, me, one employee, to fairly significant enterprise. And we were able to do that, but it took a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of work, and some luck.
Yes, of course. I mean, you did it greatly, and you're a successful man, and having a successful business. And why did you actually decide to run for office? Because you're going to be busy, having a business at the same time and being a politician.
I really had no thoughts of doing that until some friends who had known me at my college career level, or just after that, and my interest in politics at that time, came to me and said the Republican Party was looking for somebody to run against Dick Durbin. And they didn't have a good candidate. After I thought about it for a little while and talked to my wife about it, I decided to give it a whirl. That was a chance to serve our country. I was pretty naive about it, and as it turned out, a third candidate, Jim Durkin, who is now the minority leader in the Illinois House, jumped into the race very late, and he was much better known than I was at that time. He won, and I thought I was done at that point. But then later on did run for the Illinois Senate and won 8 years ago, so I've been serving for the last almost 8 years now.
I see.
I'm really very lucky because I have 2 successful businesses, and I have 2 of my children willing and able to run those businesses, so that I have time available to devote to trying to help our country and to help our state. And after I thought about it, I thought, if I don't do it, who should do it? I mean, I'm in a situation where I've got the background and the experience and the knowledge about economics and business and entrepreneurs and what it takes to grow the economy and to get people willing to commit their time and effort and money to build businesses and create jobs. So if I'm unwilling to do it, who should do it? And by the way, I have 24 grandchildren, and I'm worried about the the opportunities that they'll have when they grow up. I want to make sure that our country is in a position where we have a growing economy, where we have chances for them to start their own businesses or to work in other fields and be able to have good opportunities themselves. And not just my grandchildren, obviously everybody's grandchildren.
I see.
I'm very concerned about the level of debt in our country. We're at $23 trillion, just an unimaginable sum, and growing. And I'm worried that that kind of debt steals some of the future opportunities from our future generations.
I see. And also, I know that you're running for Congress, U.S. Congress this time.
Yes.
You briefly talk about why you're running, but we are wondering maybe you can share your platforms.
Sure.
And also which district. It's a 14 district, but we want to know what part of the cities
Sure.
that cover the 14 districts.
It's it's the 14th congressional district. It includes the northwestern part of Lake County. It includes most of McHenry County, most of Kane County, and then the northern parts of Kendall County and Will County. In Will County, it's like Plainfield and Shorewood, and as I said, most of Kane. A little bit of DuPage, very western edge, and a little bit of DeKalb, the kind of the eastern edge of DeKalb. So it's a pretty big area. It's almost 100 miles from north to south, and I've been doing a lot of driving for the last year to visit people in different areas. But I'm really running with three things in focus. One is trying to reduce our debt, reduce our runaway spending, and to reduce the fraud and waste that we have at the governmental level. Secondly, I'm running to try to solve our medical care problems. In my opinion, some of the so-called medical care or Medicare for all would be a very bad idea. It would mean that everybody would have to have their health care coming from the government. One plan would fit all. You wouldn't be able to choose your own doctor or your own timing. I think that's a very bad idea. But what I think we need is more competition and more transparency in the medical care area. And in fact, in the Illinois Senate, I sponsored a bill called a Right to Shop bill, which basically said that insurance companies would have to publish on their websites the average in-network price for elective surgery, such as a knee or hip replacement. Then if you as a consumer wish to, it's purely optional, but if you wish to shop for a lower price and you find it from a provider that you want to use, you could do that, and the insurance company would have to pay even though it's out of network, but you would get to keep half of the savings over the average in-network price, and the insurance company would keep the other half. Sounds like a win-win, right? And in fact, we had, I believe it was 16 Republican co-sponsors and 17 Democrat co-sponsors. That's 33 votes. It only takes 30 votes to pass. So this would seem very logical, right? Except that's not the way our legislature works. It's a crime, but every bill goes into the assignments committee and then is assigned to a committee, and the committee chairman pretty much dictates whether or not there will be a vote on that particular legislation, and we could never get a vote on that bill. So effectively it was killed by the powers, namely insurance companies who didn't like it and who contribute lots of money to some of the legislatures. So that kind of thing happens in Springfield fairly regularly, and it's a real shame. Illinois is just an incredibly great state. I mean, we have some of the best farmland in the world. We're the number one soybean producer, the number two corn producer. We've got some of the greatest universities in the world, University of Illinois, Northwestern, University of Chicago, many great universities. We've got a great tourist destination in the city of Chicago. We're a transportation hub, one of the busiest airports in the world. We're on Lake Michigan, which flows ultimately into the Mississippi River. I mean, good roads crossing the state, all positive things that should set Illinois apart from its neighbors here in the Midwest, except the politicians in Springfield keep killing the state with increasing taxes and increasing wasteful spending, and it's a real shame.
I see. What do you think about President Trump?
I really like a lot of the things that President Trump has been able to accomplish. In fact, I kind of like the First Lady's response to that. She said, I like his policies, but he tweets too much.
But there's a reason why he tweets, actually.
Actually, a number of the policies that he's proposed are things that I proposed 10 and 12 years ago, such as allowing the reimportation of American-made drugs from Canada to bring the price down in this country, allowing the interstate sales of medical plans, which increases competition. Those are very good, solid things, and I'm delighted to see he's behind them. And obviously, border security. I was raising the flag about the risks that we had and the cost to taxpayers from illegal immigration 15 years ago. I'm a strong supporter of immigration. We're all immigrants in one form or another, but I believe it should be done on a legal basis. And when we allow people to break the law and enter the country illegally, we're hurting those other people who are then not allowed to come into our country because we have a certain number of people. So we need to enforce the law for everybody so that everybody follows our rules. We've allowed something like 1 million people to immigrate legally to our country for the last several years. To me, that's a reasonable number, but if it should be higher, fine. If it should be lower, fine. But I think we need to require people to follow our law to come.
What are your stances on abortion and also Second Amendment?
Yeah, I've been endorsed by almost all the Right to Life groups in the area, including Illinois Citizens for Life, the Lake County Right to Life group. I think that the bill that the Illinois Senate passed that basically allows abortion on demand is terrible legislation. At some point, we have to recognize that a fetus is a human being, and at that point, we have to protect that as a human life. And the Second Amendment, I've been a strong supporter of Second Amendment rights since I've been serving in the Illinois Senate. In fact, I was one of the original sponsors of the concealed carry legislation. The problem, and look, I realize there are real problems, and I realize that some limitations may be necessary, but I think we have to focus on combining the systems when we want to check for mental health reasons, or if we want to check legality for somebody to buy a firearm. Right now, there are 5 different systems that they can be entered in. Those need to be combined into one so that a dealer can plug in that name into one system and get an answer whether this is okay or not. I think that's critical that we make that happen.
How's your campaign so far?
Honestly, campaigns tend to be up and down. I have never seen a campaign as smooth and as comfortable as this has been. We just did a follow-up poll just over a week ago, and it showed me there's 7 competitors, and showed me at 46%, and the closest competitor at 16%, 30 points behind me. And that competitor is one of my fellow state senators, and she doesn't even live in the district. She lives in Grundy County. Legally, she can run even though she doesn't live in the district, but voters need to know that, because there's no way that somebody who doesn't live in the district can understand the needs and wants and desires of people throughout our district. And I've lived here my whole life.
What do you want to achieve if you get elected as congressman?
Well, as I said, I would like to focus, number one, on trying to control the runaway wasteful spending that we have, and to bring down our debt, to actually have a balanced budget, and to do it in the budgetary process. So often now, we pass a temporary short-term budget, and then we have a continuing resolution. The last one that was passed and signed by the president was 2,300 pages. I don't believe that most people in Congress read that before they voted on it. And it had a lot of pork built into it. It's sort of a system where the legislators allow that to happen. That should stop. I also am a strong believer in term limits, and that's why I'm not running for re-election to my state Senate seat. I will have served at the end of this year for 8 years. I think that's enough. I think that when people are term limited, they tend to vote in ways that they believe are good for their country, good for their state, good for their district. When they're not term limited and they're career politicians, they tend to vote first and foremost in ways that they think are good for their own re-election. That gives you a very different result. I want to see people voting with the interests of the state and the country first and foremost. So I actually, when I get to Washington, would like my first bill that I file to be a term limits bill.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You asked what else I'm interested in. I'm very much interested in trying to solve our medical care problem. As I said, I believe it takes more transparency and competition to control costs. but I believe that we each ought to have the right to contract with whatever insurance company we choose, to buy whatever type of plan we choose, and to be able to go to whatever doctor we choose, not to have the government have one size fits all and tell us who we can go to, when we can go. And in other countries that have state-provided medicine, I mean, look at China, for heaven's sakes. Look at the problems they're going through because it's been controlled by the state. In a country like the United States, with the competition that we have and the openness we have, hopefully that could never happen here. And even in countries like Canada that have state-provided medicine, it's great if you're healthy, and it's great if you're wealthy, because if you're healthy, you don't need the medical care, and if you're wealthy, if something happens where you need a hip or knee replacement, you get on an airplane, go to the United States and get it done instead of having to wait 6 or 9 or 12 months like the rest of the Canadian citizens do. So I think that's a bad system. And the third thing is to try to work to solve our immigration problem. With my long involvement there, I hope that I can be an agent to bring both sides together to get a reasonable solution to this whole mess.
I see. You probably witnessed a lot of leaderships, good and bad. And would you please describe who are having a good trait of having a good leadership and bad traits of leadership?
Well, I think when you talk about the political realm or Congress, I think it's important to be willing to listen to the other side with an open mind. I happen to have a daughter who is a professor at SIUE down near St. Louis, Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. She is a political activist, frequently on the other side of the issues from me. She is very much of a control guns, very much of a supporter of Planned Parenthood. So you can imagine she and I can get into some pretty heated discussions. But I respect her, I listen to her, I try to understand her position, and she listens to me and tries to understand my position. So we may fight about it a lot, but I think that is important to hear the other side and to try to consider the other side and to try to reach a reasonable compromise without violating your own values.
I see. Let's get to actually a little more personal question, because we are curious about you. You're a businessman, also a politician. So
stop. I'm not a politician. I am a businessman who ran for and was elected to a political office. And there is a world of difference between a businessman elected to an office and a politician who is doing that for a career. Big difference.
Okay. Then I will just say state senator. So, what is your hobby?
Well, when you're building businesses, you don't have a lot of time for hobbies. I can tell you, as a University of Illinois student and even in high school, probably my biggest hobby was playing chess. I was on the University of Illinois chess team and enjoyed that. I also I actually started a rock and roll band when I was a University of Illinois student.
Wow,
that
music.
Was a little more. It was kind of half hobby and half business. We did earn some money, but we had a lot of fun doing it as well. After I graduated and after I started my own businesses, I kind of walked away from those entirely. But then when my kids got interested in chess, I started spending some time with them, teaching them. And in fact, my daughter Julie became the first statewide female chess champion in Illinois history.
Wow.
She won the junior high title, got to be 25 or 30 years ago now. But it was really exciting. Nobody thought she could win. In fact, I can remember going into the last round. It's a 7-round tournament, happened to be in Bloomington. And I remember the coach from one of the other teams coming and telling me, Jim, you did a great job to get her to this level at 6-0. That's wonderful, even though she can't win the last round. At least she did very well. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, it ain't over yet. And as it turned out, she ended up with a draw against the top-rated player in the tournament in the last round. So they ended up with 6.5 points each out of 7. And she won on a tie break, so she became the state champion. So that was pretty exciting for me and pretty exciting for her and pretty exciting for a lot of girls to see that, hey, girls really can play chess and do well.
It's amazing. And she has your gene. Best DNA.
She's also an entrepreneur. She's the only one of my 5 children who do not live in Illinois. She and her husband moved to Silicon Valley and started a technology company out there.
Wow. What a great, successful family.
I'm very proud of all 5 of my kids, absolutely. And grandchildren too.
Oh, how many grandchildren do you have?
24, 21 from my children and 3 from my wife's.
Wow, amazing. Big family.
Big parties at Christmas or Easter or what have you.
You probably spend a lot of money on Christmas gifts.
It is an expensive time of the year.
I also heard that you went to Korea. What occasion did you go? And also, how was the experience?
Yes, actually, there was an individual who was from South Korea who had a business in Oak Brook, was here for, 3 or 4 or 5 years and kind of got addicted to Oberweis ice cream. And he thought, you know what, I'll bet people in Korea would like this as well. So when he went back, he made inquiries at the Hyundai department store and some other places and decided to import our ice cream to South Korea. After we had shipped a container, my son Joe, who runs the dairy business, and I were curious because we had never been to South Korea. And we actually went probably a little over a year ago. And I was shocked when I saw a Hyundai department store. I mean, it's like nothing I've ever seen here. The closest thing I can think of is the old, what became Macy's in Chicago. But this was much bigger and huge. They had one whole huge floor of just food items, and you could get anything you wanted virtually there. It was really exciting to see. Even more exciting was a trip that we took to the DMZ, because you see this on TV, but it's never as real as actually being there and experiencing. That was a great experience for us.
Wow. Did you try Korean food?
Oh, of course, sure.
Oh, what is your favorite Korean food?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I like anything barbecue quite a bit. I don't remember what the favorite would be.
Kimchi, 갈비, 불고기. You probably don't remember.
I don't.
Okay. Well, hopefully you can go back to South Korea again. I don't know, maybe with the new career as a U.S. Congressman or...
Very possible, sure.
Yeah, or businessman.
Right.
Thank you so much for sharing your story today. Do you have comments to our audience today?
Well, if any of our viewers live in the 14th Congressional District, I would certainly appreciate your vote very much. I am the only person with both business experience and legislative experience who lives in the 14th Congressional District. I think that's a unique combination, and I will promise you that I will do my very best to vote in the best interests of the people of Illinois and the people of the United States. And I made one very big campaign promise, and that is that I will be an even better congressman than I am ice cream maker. And that's a big promise.
Thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Global Leaders Network WinTV. If you want to watch this again, you can watch this through our website and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe us. And I want to see all of you next Thursday, 9 p.m. Until then, have a great week. Bye-bye, everyone.